You're listening to the Everyday Astrology Podcast. I'm Hilary Scott, your astrologer, and I'm here to bring you the current planetary conditions. So we are in the depths of Scorpio season already. The sun moved into Scorpio on, when was the exact date? The 23rd. So the 23rd of October, the sun shifted from the very balanced Libra, peaceful kind of energy into a much more intense, depth-seeking, truth-seeking kind of energy. Scorpio is like the psychological investigator of the zodiac. So it has like a suspicious mind, and it can be very untrusting, which goes with the suspicious mind, but also it just seems to have like a nose for the dark side and things that are just unpleasant. Like it rules the underworld. So it is very much like taking a trip into the underworld, and there really is an underworld. In fact, I think we're all living in the underworld right now. We've all taken a trip into the underworld. So I think with this Scorpio sun, and then we have the Scorpio new moon coming up on the 4th, and some pretty intense aspects leading up to that, we have a chance to really get honest about what's going on. And, I think the most important thing is that we're honest with ourselves, so then we can kind of look at the world more honestly too. But Scorpio has a way of, the Scorpio energy, it brings up the dark, difficult things that we find impossible to look at or we want to ignore, and puts them right in your face. That can also connect to like jealousy and power struggles and cruelty, and especially with being mixed with Mars, then it can be like violence and like murders of passion and just feeling kind of like so many emotions. Scorpio is like the full spectrum. So hopefully we can tap into the positive stuff that Scorpio has to offer, though there's some really difficult aspects that we have to deal with too. So it can't all be roses and glory. Clearly, look at the last 18 months or so. It's definitely not been that. But basically, when the moon is conjunct the sun in Scorpio, it's a very powerful time for us to get like really psychologically bare. Like, so you can really understand the depths of what's going on. Maybe you start investigating, like looking into the cult of or the cult of the medics is a really good documentary that you might want to listen to from David Whitehead, who is the Truth Warrior. That's a really good one. There's also just so much information out there. If you just do a little digging, you're going to come up with so many crazy things that it just makes your head spin. And that's the kind of times we're living in. So we are here to witness these times and to contribute, I guess, as well, right? Like, what else did we come here and be aware? Like, otherwise, what's the point? We must have some sort of contribution to make. Maybe just even our awareness is the contribution that we're here to make. Mars is going to be going into Scorpio on the 30th, which is right before Halloween, obviously, the 31st. And that day too, that's a pretty packed full day. Saturn is going to be squaring the sun. So there could be like real kind of ego conflicts or feeling burdened and not being able to be yourself. You want to be who you are, but there's this sort of like burden, like, oh, you got to do this or you got to do that, or that's even mild. It maybe just popped into my head like the mandates that everybody is facing. In Canada, in the province that I live in, British Columbia, I heard that there was 4,000 in it already, like where they don't have enough people to do routine like medical checks and screening and stuff. They've just fired 4,000 healthcare workers, nurses and doctors and, the people that work in care homes, and everybody who refused to get the vaccine just got fired. And they got put on, it's just so weird. They got put on pay, or they got put on leave with no pay. So they can't get even unemployment insurance. They're literally cutting them off of having any money at all, which just, 6 months ago or a year ago, they were the heroes that were on the front lines and we were banging our pots for them. And now we're firing them all because they won't comply with an experimental injection. It's just such madness. Like, it makes my head spin how crazy it is that this is still going on. So that actually, the Saturn square the sun is very much that. The people who don't want it, especially the healthcare workers who see what's happening and all the people showing up with heart problems and blood clots and neurological damage. It's just like, that's who's filling up the hospitals, and nobody can say what's happening or why it's happening. And in the meantime, they're trying to force everybody into it and approving it for children, which is just like, okay, we're living in a mad, mad world. There's no way around that. So that, like a very distorted sort of like satanic version of Saturn squaring the sun, which is our we're born with inalienable rights to be free and to travel and to express ourselves and to choose what we have in our bodies. But that's being taken away right now in a very unjust and unscientific, and it's a very tyrannical sort of thing going on, I would say. We could focus on the subtleties of the good stuff that's going on, including, the people that are gathering resources together to kind of build a society alongside what we're going through right now. So here they've got the pilots that are all pilots, and people are like chartering planes so that they can fly different places, like to Mexico and to, where else was it? Costa Rica, I think there was a flight. So everybody that wants to go just pitches in and pay. It's $50,000 an hour for like, I think it was like a 727 or something. So that's kind of cool that stuff like that's happening. Definitely. Like, things are being built alongside this sort of craziness, which I guess we're going to need because, yeah. And definitely being able to take care of our own health would be really beneficial right now. So do that. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself and not, polluting yourself as best you can, because this is a crazy world. You want to stay healthy. So what we've got coming up to this moon on the 4th, the new moon in Scorpio will be at 5:15 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time. And it's right after Halloween, and it's powerful. There's a lot of powerful aspects on that day. We've got Uranus opposite the sun and the moon because they're conjunct, so they're sharing the same energy. Saturn is squaring this whole show, and it's also in a conjunction to Mars. So Mars is like the warrior planet. Scorpio is not afraid. It's a very off with your head energy. It's like, it's very black and white in thinking. And it's very full spectrum emotions, right? So they can feel the greatest joy and the most amazing luck and wonderful things going on in their world. And then they could also feel like the deepest grief and anguish and sorrow. So it's a very brave energy, generally, Scorpio, very willing to look at what others, like a trip into the underworld. So I think we're all kind of, I guess there's sort of like a risk right now, or a possibility. Maybe it's an opportunity. Maybe it's not a risk at all, for us to really collectively look at the shadow that we're casting, or, our own shadows, and then the shadow of the government that we're following, or just the scenario. Maybe like just collectively, what is this darkness that's rising right now to be cleared? And if we can kind of look at it in that way, like we're here clearing this darkness by bringing it to the light, then it's not so, combative, I guess is a good way to look at it. And it's a pretty polarizing energy that we're dealing with, right? And Scorpio is very black and white. So there could be that. If there's something that you need to cut off or cut out of your life, this Scorpio energy is really good for that. It's very powerful, very decisive, and very transformative. So there can be a real, like, you get the eagle eye view of the problem. You can kind of like zero right in on that issue and cut it out, get rid of it if it's not good for you. And then also that sort of getting rid of what isn't good opens the door to the vacuum to be created to draw in what is good and what is supportive. So even though you might be kind of in this grueling, dark underworld of life right now, and we all are, we're going to come out feeling really empowered and full of life again, and really understanding why we live, why we're here, what the point is of everything. So that's powerful, right? That's like, okay, like it might be dark, it may be shocking, but it's also empowering, and just the energy that's freed up from trying to like the saying, we're only as sick as our secrets, that energy. And it might even be like a secret that you like self-sabotage by eating, I don't know, Mars bars at night, and it's like bad for you and making your blood sugar all wonky. Like it could be a really tiny secret, but whatever it is that you're trying to avoid or not be honest with, even with yourself, is like prone to hanging us up and creating self-sabotaging behaviors. So being able to like get all your personalities that you're working with, your sub-personalities, on board with what you're trying to accomplish is very powerful, especially with the new moon. We've got like this powerful urge to act. We've got an urge to be ourselves and be free and exercise our freedom. And there is like the back and forth struggle with how does our personal freedom and what we want work with the collective and what the collective needs. So there still is that issue of like, what do we do and how do we be ourselves within this world that is pushing us to just be completely not who we are. I mean, and it never has allowed us to be who we are. That's probably why all this is happening. So just be aware that there could be quite a like struggles on that day or leading up to that day with the new moon that kind of are maybe pretty big struggles. Like Saturn there squaring the moon, again, it makes me think of the mandates, and the energy is like kind of connecting us back to what went on in March and April of 2020. And all the planets, we've gone through a lot of retrogrades in this last little while. So now everything is moving forward again. And there's this sort of recovering of territory. So just understand what you want to create and be like, there's a possibility for this to keep going, right? They're going to keep coming up with reasons to keep us controlled and locked down. And I mean, it could lead to like very, very dark times. There's people that have been survivors of the Holocaust or have been under communist rule that are like, blowing the whistle saying this is exactly what happened. They even apparently used health mandates, and medical and government got together and made these rules. And a lot of the reasons why Jewish people had to wear the yellow star and weren't allowed in restaurants and couldn't travel anymore was because they were spreading disease. So that's sort of, I didn't know that. And hearing that recently made me think, wow, it's even more similar to that than I realized, except now it's not just happening in Germany. That was just the trial run. Now they're going to like, let's launch it on the whole world. So that's kind of big energy that we have to, now that maybe all the planets are going direct, we can see what's happening. We're not all just like blinded by the lies we're told or the stories that, the brainwashing, the manipulation. Now we have our Scorpio glasses on and all the planets are starting to move forward and we can see, and we are not stupid, and we're like capable of standing up. Like so many people, like different sectors all over the world of like the hordes of people are just walking away from really important jobs. And that's got to make a difference, right? Like that really has to make a difference. So with the new moon energy, make sure that you figure out what you want to create, figure out what you're going to let go, figure out how you can add your own stamp of independence onto whatever it is that you're doing, like your individuality. That's more what I'm thinking, is that what is your individual special spark that you can add to this, like this sort of weaving of all of our light energy together. Maybe we can like weave this like collective cloak to protect the planet and to protect the children. Like oh my goodness, They're trying to make it like, oh yeah, it's fine for children, even though Pfizer, who's been charged the biggest fines in history, like billions of dollars worth of fines for lying and like, you know, presenting false data to get their drugs passed. They've been like, they're the ones giving the FDA and the Canadian government and wherever else they're doing it, they're giving them their stuff. And they've only used like 1,200 kids to decide that they're going to inject millions of children. It's just like, it's crazy. Oh my God, it's so crazy. Makes me crazy. But that's what it is. It's like, it really is like the rulers are like narcissist psychopaths. Just like narcissistic people, they lie all the time, like they have no problem lying, and then they'll deny they're lying. So we're getting totally gaslighted. Like as a collective, as a humanity, the people that are running the show are literally gaslighting us and lying to us all the time. Like a completely dysfunctional, like divergent personality disorder situation is running the show. And we're all just like, I mean, gosh, like how manipulated can we be? Surely we can see that this is like lies, and the stuff that's going on is just madness at this point. And even like, oh yeah, well it didn't work, but now we want to give you more of the same thing that didn't work. Like, what's up with that? Oh, and they're approving the boosters all over, even though they were highly recommended, the FDA, not to give boosters except for to like only the old and the compromised, but they ignored those recommendations and went ahead and just decided to do it anyway. So if you open your eyes and put your Scorpio glasses on, you'll see the sinister shit that is going down on this planet right now. And perhaps through this tumult of the Scorpio energy in November, we'll be able to like collectively lay our eyes on some pretty clear evidence of what's going on and perhaps open the eyes of humanity in a much bigger way. That's kind of cool. So we also have right after the new moon on Friday the 5th, we will have Mercury go into Scorpio as well. That's like, again, we'll have that Mars is there, Mercury, the sun. All of those are going to be highlighted in a way that makes us more aware. We're going to be able to go deeper, understand deeper. Maybe we're going to have our eyes open to some like real dark stuff that we don't even, we didn't even realize was going on. And that's the kind of thing that helps heal. It's like, oh, if there's like some really dark practices, it's like the Me Too movement, right? That's been going on for, the entire time of the Hollywood industry. That sort of abuse had been going on, but suddenly something happened and there was a scale tipped and it became conscious to all of us. So hopefully that's what we're going to see on quite a large scale right now with the government coercion, just how the same people own the vaccine companies and the media and can just completely control what we think and believe through the media. So that's the kind of stuff we might be able to see right now, and maybe even more crazy stuff, crazy difficult stuff. But it is a good time to get out your journal and write down, the seeds of what you want to plant and also what you're willing to let go, what you're willing to off with their head or, the complete, like forever done kind of energy, because you'll gain so much energy back by that, which is really lovely. The day after Halloween, just to jump back a bit, is a really lovely trine between Jupiter and Mercury. That gives us like the blessing of really good ideas, amazing, like expansive thoughts, optimism again. Like if you've been feeling depressed and burdened and full of grief, like Saturn has, been very heavy and Pluto also very heavy. And the trine or the square between Uranus all this time since last December, I think it started December 17th or 18th, which is exactly when they started handing out the vaccines here in Canada, the exact same day. So since then, we've been under this immense amount of pressure between Uranus trying to bust up the status quo and Saturn and Pluto basically just sort of trying to, it seems so dark. I even have a hard time being optimistic about it when you think about it. The control and the power grab and all of that's happening under the guise of public health. It's still it's exposing some real deep flaws in our institutions. So we've been experiencing that for this whole last 18 months, basically. But now things are shifting. We just got to get through this month. There is a lot going on this month because it is the eclipse too. We have a lunar eclipse happening in Taurus, right near Uranus too. We're going to be experiencing that. That's on the 19th of November. So that we're all heading into this eclipse portal. And once we go through that, things transform and change. And that's what we really want, right? Like that we want it to change from this. That saying, this too shall pass, is really true. And we'll get kind of through. And hopefully we'll get through wide awake and not repeating some sinister history that we've all seemed to have forgotten about of what went down. And hopefully, we can all, I believe that we can all stand up and go in a much healthier direction and focus this like real beautiful future into reality where we are living lives following our hearts and living truthfully and being able to trust the people that are healers and all these sort of utopian ideas I think are within reach. We've just got to get through this really kind of complicated time. So that is it for the Scorpio moon update. It's November 4th, the Scorpio moon. Don't forget to write down what you want to create, write down what you want to let go of, and help to like focus your energy and breathe. Don't forget to breathe and be present and hold space for yourself and for whoever you know might need it. Thank you so much for listening. Many blessings for a most powerful, transformative new moon in Scorpio.